World Cup is still mentioned in the NHA pool.
Welcome to the Stokastic No House Advantage NBA show for the 7-game Monday night slate. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. This show is produced by Jordan Klein. You can find him on Twitter at Jordan Klein. And we are joined today, as usual, by DFS legend Terry McBride. You can find him on Twitter at DigitalB21. I want to note right off the bat, this slate is only 7 games. We are missing the 7 o'clock Eastern slate on this one. So this one's starting half an hour after the usual DFS slate lock. So if you're playing DFS, you can pop on over to No House Advantage right after the lock of the first game to enter this contest. Look for some overlay. While you're coming in, also, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. If you haven't already signed up for No House Advantage, you can also use promo code Stokastic to take advantage of our first match deposit bonus up to $100. Terry, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty well, Neil. It's good to be joining you on a Monday afternoon. I think this is my one show of the entire week. So like either we're going to make this a killer one or, I'm also burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. So maybe this just be a total clunker. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping for the good show. Cause like I said, only one bite at the apple this week, I think.
Me too. I'm hoping you're bringing your A game because, man, if you have a bad show here, it's just going to leave a bad taste in your mouth for the rest of the week.
Mostly, I just don't want to make you look bad. Really,
I appreciate that.
That's really why I made sure to wake
concern.
myself up, get a little caffeine, actually look at what's going on in the NBA today. I just don't want to drag you down. I want everybody out there hitting the thumbs up for Neil.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you trying to make me look good. All right.
Hey, by the way, that late start on NHA is going to be done in tandem with our extended live before lock show to 7:30 too. So we'll have Greg and Eric for that half hour talking about NHA picks. So nice little tie in there.
Perfect. Yeah, maybe they can give us some winners for the NHA slate. Yep. But we'll start by giving you some winners here. No House Advantage does offer 2 types of contests, and if you would rather just play against the house, you can do that. If you hit all of your picks, you can net up to 20x your entry fee playing against the house. What we're primarily going to be talking about here on this show, though, is the pick'em contest. No House Advantage is offering a few different pick'em contests tonight, and they're doing us a favor. They're intentionally creating contests that are likely to have some overlay. This is a rare opportunity for people in this space, so I'd recommend taking advantage of it while you can. What's that?
It's an impossible pitfall to avoid. The take advantage of No House Advantage. It's just you do it every time when you're. I do it every time when I'm reading the plugs. Yeah,
we do our
best. Just impossible. But every time I do it, I have to just point out that I did it. So yeah, I figured I would do it to you and totally derail us.
Thank you for pointing that out. That I did kind of stumble over my words, but kind of largely.
Well, it's just such a natural. Hey, there's all this overlay and go take advantage. Damn it, that's every single time.
Yeah, it is. All right, we have 3 contests though that hopefully some of them will have some overlay. The biggest is the $10 buy-in slam dunk contest. This contest allows for up to 1,200 entries, but the prize pool is guaranteed. So if it doesn't fill all the way, the prizes are going to still be paid out as listed. The top prize for that one is $5,000. The next is the $5 buy-in finger roll contest. This one can have up to 480 entries with $1,000 up top. And then we also have a triple up contest, the jump shot. It's a $10 buy-in, 36 entries. The top 10 places triple their money. If you're not familiar with how No House Advantage Pick'em contest work, they're pretty simple. They just post a bunch of static prop lines for different players. You choose 10 of those lines and pick either the over or the under on each. You rank those 10 bets in order of your confidence because your top pick gets 10 points if you get it right. Second pick gets 9 points if you get it right, all the way down to your lowest level confidence, your 1 spot. You just get 1 point if you get it right. So you order them in order of your confidence, and then your team or teams are ranked against the rest of the field. The team with the top points wins the contest. If you're not sure who to pick in this one, we've got Terry here to give us some of his favorite picks from the game. Terry, what do you think about starting with some overs? Since usually the unders are the juiciest bets, we like to start with the overs, save some of our favorite bets for later on. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, the overs are also just always more fun to talk about, though, too. Also, so I never know, do we go unders first? Do we go overs first? But yeah, let's dive in. It's an interesting board today. We don't have the crazy, 98% probable unders and a couple overs in the 90s. We're starting in the 80s on both sides. So it's actually kind of fun to jump into. And there's a little bit of, fragility on some of these. There's a little bit of flex on some of these, at least a little bit more so than we see for the typical NHA show. So I do think there's a great one up at the top of the board though, Kyle Kuzma on the overs, sitting at 80.8% to go over on his 3-pointers prop. It's only sitting at 1.5. We've got him projected to double that, essentially. And if you look at the season long numbers, he's been taking 7.7 a game, making 2.6 a game. That's only on 33.7% 3-point shooting. It's not like he's the greatest 3-point shooter in the world, but there was volume already just in the season long numbers to support him getting over this 1.5. And if you look at his numbers in the last handful of games since the trade in particular, but if we're just looking, over the course of, let's say, the last 8 games, it looks like he was double-digit shot 3-point attempts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it was over the last 6 of the last 7 games. And in the one he didn't get to double digits, he took 9. He beat this line, more than doubled it every single time. He more than doubled it. He doubled it at least twice. And then he hit 2 twice. So he got over it every single time in the last 9 games. I think there's a lot of support for just on sheer volume. Even if he doesn't have a good shooting night, we're going over 1.5 with Kyle Kuzma here. And I think you can make the same argument for Klay Thompson. It's a little bit steeper. It's 2.5, but it's Klay Thompson. We're talking about a guy who's taking 10.3 a game for the season and making 4.1, an excellent 3-point shooter at 39.3%. So we're asking Klay to go out there and basically be himself, and we cruise past this one as well. That one's at 76%. I like the Kuzma one a little bit more, just because I think he's just going to be chucking, but Klay is the better of the two in terms of like who feels a little bit more secure in terms of their skill set, so those are 2 really strong ones to start us out, though, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we talk about DFS, we often caution people about box score watching, right? Like you don't want to be watching the box scores, making a decision based on the most recent games, but you can also find great trends in those box scores. And like you pointed out, like the volume with Kyle Kuzma right now is just, they're letting him chuck it. And he's willing to chuck it, 10 plus times in several of those games. So this is a spot where I think you can look at the box score and actually glean something from it. That's definitely interesting to see that Kyle Kuzma's 3-point volume is just so high, makes this line look really juicy. And obviously Klay Thompson, just a great shooter, and obviously also has great volume. So yeah, those are definitely some great picks right off the board.
And it is worth noting, the last 3 games, Kristaps Porzingis was a DNP, but the 4 before that in that sample, or the 6 before that in that sample, he was out there. Or 5 of the 6 before that, right? So most of that sample, or at least half of that sample, came in games with Kristaps Porzingis out there with him. Daniel Gafford also questionable, so there's plenty of opportunity for him tonight. I'm not worried about a Kristaps return here.
Yeah, even that is not going to slow down Kyle Kuzma when he's shooting, as much as he is right now. It's not like he's going to go back to shooting 4 3-pointers. He's still going to be chucking it tonight, most likely. Yep. So seems like a good bet. Any others? What about some of these assist props? We've got a nice assist prop on Mikal Bridges, Kyle Anderson. Anything stand out to you there that you want to hit here?
Yeah, we've been touching on this Bridges assist one. It's been just kind of sitting at the top of our overs board, and it's been static at 2.5, I think, if memory serves, over the last few shows. So I think we can go back to the well here. And it's basically, the same kind of analysis. It's not exactly the skill set that you think of when you think of him, but he is good enough to break this line. He's averaging 3.5 a game, 13.6% assist rate. He plays a ton. He's out there 36 minutes a night. So just on sheer opportunity, he's usually getting to that number. It's only at 2.5. We're calling it 75% by the math. It feels pretty comfy in that depleted Phoenix rotation. Looking at the board, we're not expecting any of the pieces that have been missing recently to come back here. Devin Booker still out as the obvious primary one. You did have Chris Paul return a few games ago, but that's not really going to, knock down the assists that Bridges is picking up. And if we're looking down the box score, and like you said, you don't necessarily want a box score watch, but you can, for prop betting especially, get a good feel for what the recent volume has been looking like. And when we're talking about assists, just looking down the box score, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 9, 7, 6, 4. He hasn't been under 3 since in this year, since December 30th. That was the last time he was at 2. So I think we're very, very comfy with this Bridges assist line until Devin Booker comes back, until some of those other pieces come back. Maybe that knocks it down a peg, but I still think you could get away with it at 2.5, even when those pieces are back, just, on what this guy does out there. But for right now, 75%, that seems like a very strong one. You can go to the Jordan Poole threes made. It's basically the exact same conversation we had about the Klay Thompson one. It's just a Warriors guard who's going to be shooting and, definitely going to have the opportunity, and a good 3-point shooter overall. Or, well, good is I guess maybe not the right term to use. 32.1% on the season. I guess a guy who makes his fair share of them because he takes his fair share of them is the right way to put that. But I do think he's a little bit better than 32% overall on the year too. So we'll likely see that come up, and it's only sitting at 1.5. That's another 75%er. You could take the other side of that and just go to his raw points. That even might be the smarter approach. Then you're not dealing with, hey, he had a bad shooting night but still got there on his on his scoring. Now we're just looking at, hey, we need him to go over 15.5. We've got him 75% to do that. We've got him going to a 20-point real life night. He's averaging 21 per game in 30.6 minutes this season. So plenty to like about that. 24.7 and a per 36 cents. So either one of those for Jordan Poole, I like.
All right, I'm trying to find some props that we can, kind of correlate here. And generally, I think I'm looking for assist props. So we got Mikal Bridges assist. Do we have any other Suns like points near the top where we can kind of correlate these? Because I'm looking through like our top assist guys don't have a lot of players to correlate with them today. And if there aren't any, maybe we just look past it and don't try to correlate our bets here. But do you see any? I'm seeing Kyle Anderson. Do we have any Timberwolves points near the top? I'm not. None are jumping out at me. If we got Cameron Johnson down here.
Yeah, I was kind of eyeballing Cam Johnson there, and then I was kind of eyeballing DeAndre Ayton as far as the 17.5 real life points. We've got him projected at 20.57, so it's not as strong as some of these, top end 80, 75 percenters, but it is sitting at 64.6%. So let's round that up to 65%. If we're thinking in terms of the odds that we're normally betting on at sports books for player props, we're typically not getting 65, or that's going to be one of our strongest picks of the day. So if you think about it in those kind of terms, as far as your risk tolerance goes, it's not that sketchy to build that one in and use that 8 and play, further down your card in one of the lower confidence spots. And it does probably find some correlation. I don't know the exact assist numbers, how many of the Bridges assists are going to Ayton or how many of his potential assists are going to Ayton, but just on a logic-based approach, you would think that a fair number of them are. So I think those would probably correlate a little bit. And then, Cam Johnson on those kick out threes, I think makes a lot of sense. He's a guy shooting 46.3% from three right now. Granted, we're not talking about a huge sample. He's played 13 games for this season, but a good young player, a kid who's willing to shoot 6.3 takes a game, making 2.9 a game. So it's tight to the line, but it is 65% to go over. We've got him projected at 3.3, and the volume's going to be there. A guy who's definitely seeing the volume with some of these missing pieces. So I like correlating it with either one of those. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to put all three of them on a card either, because you're picking up the assists, you're picking up the inside and the outside on the scoring, right? So you're kind of taking the not the Phil Jackson triangle, but you are kind of taking a triangle to it there, right? So I do think there's maybe some correlation to be had between those three.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. And I think this is a good spot where, we talked about it last week, how you don't necessarily always just want to take like the top 10 bets on the board. There's obviously some reason to do that when all the bets look great, but then sometimes, if you want to win without splitting it. So, sometimes your goal can be just, I want to win. And when I hit, I want to win 5,000 or, only split like one or two other ways. Whereas if you're taking all the top bets on the board, you might run into a 50-way dupe. Some slates that's going to happen. So to avoid that, maybe this seems like it would be a good slate to maybe take some of those bets that are, closer to the bottom there, because it's a little bit tighter in terms of the spread. As you said, we don't have anything that's like 98, 99% likely to hit. We're more likely here to see some of these top picks not work out. So I think that this is a really good slate to work in some of these correlations and some of our picks that are, 65% likely rather than shooting for all just the top of the board. Because really the difference between 65% and 75% that we see in like Jordan Poole's, Kyle Anderson, those kind of numbers, not as great as when we're picking 65% versus 95% on some sites. So would you agree with that? This is a good slate to kind of try to find some of those correlations and maybe not just take the top picks on the board.
Absolutely. And I think this is also the kind of slate where our projections and our just having the win rates for these props at your fingertips, you guys can access the exact same numbers that I'm looking at in terms of these percentages that I'm saying for each of these props. And you can just put it together that way. So on a day where everything's below 90%, there's a lot of tight ones. It's not going to be feeding into everybody's brains the same way, right? Like the general public is going to have, all right, this guy, I know, it's the ones that we see at 99% because it's set at a 32.5 PRA for a guy who we're projecting at 18 PRA. The public is going to be able to spot that a little bit easier than they're going to be able to spot the difference between a 75% and a 62% on a day like today. So you can use that to your advantage, just the lack of extremely probable picks to kind of spread out a little bit and get a little bit different with some of these, and use the win rates to try and find picks that the public is not necessarily going to spot very quickly and very easily. And that's why I like picks like that Bridges one, because just look for things that are good bets, that are highly probable bets based on our numbers, but not necessarily within the immediate skill set that somebody thinks of for a player. So Mikal Bridges, again, good assist rate, good facilitator, but not the first thing you think of necessarily when you think of him. This number's just set a little bit wrong, but it's not set so wrong that it's going to stand out like crazy, like a big, lighthouse to the casuals out there. So I think this is a real strong day where you can get a big leg up on the field and hopefully create those unique lineups. And you do see that, it's a little different than the traditional DFS sites because we don't have the fractional scoring. So you do see, all right, these, all these highly likely ones came in. So everybody got their 10, their 9, their 8. And then, there's a big log jam up at the top. So it is important to try and differentiate and try and be that unique winner on these sites. And I do think that's definitely the approach.
Yeah, good point. It's a really great time to use these tools because we have those probabilities built in there that really give you an idea of how good the chances are for each of these picks and how big the spread is between the top and the mid-level and so on. Any other overs you want to talk about, or are you ready to move on and talk some unders?
Yeah, we can bounce over to the unders. There are other ones on here. I mean, the Kyrie Irving threes is pretty solid. The Spencer Dinwiddie threes, I think, is pretty solid. I'm not expecting Luke. I know he's still technically a game time decision, but I just don't feel like he's going to be rushed out there that quickly. It's an ankle. You don't really want to mess with it, but I think it's there regardless for Spencer Dinwiddie. You just like the uptick in volume and potential for it if there's no Luka. So definitely a spot to keep your eye on, but that one's totally viable. And then just go down anything between those 75 percenters and at least like Josh Giddey's points at 69.3%, going over 13.5. So everything above that, I think, is pretty solid today. So you can use any of those with fairly high confidence. And then you get a little tighter as you're dropping down through those 65ers. There's ones that are a little bit less confident, ones with players I don't like quite as much, like Tim Hardaway Jr., who I knew was going to burn me across 70% of my lineups the other day. And I said so on the show that I was on, and then I didn't change it. He did. Oh,
damn it.
So yeah, there's a lot of usable picks, put it that way, in the overs, but we can hop to the unders.
Yeah, we did get a question from the Juice Box. Says OKC Golden State has the highest total of the day. Do you think that's a great approach for targeting player props, taking the points over on those players? So my answer would be that's built into the projections, right? So like the total factors into the players' projections. So yes, I do think so, but I think those you can find which players are likely to hit their point totals just looking at the Stokastic projections. Mm-hmm. They're free, so you can just find them on the site. Pretty easy to find. But yeah, it's those players are generally going to have a pretty good shot, have pretty good points projections in games that have a high total, as you can see with Josh Giddey, HGA. We've got the overs hitting on both of their point props. Yeah, it's definitely, and Jordan Poole.
Yeah, so, and that's that rising tide situation, right? That heavy total is going to carry all these props up a little bit. It's a good question though, and I think the place where that can be potentially useful is if you see a game total jump or drop during the day, because these are static lines, right? At no house advantage. It's not like a traditional sports book where, all right, Luka's out, so that point total drops by 4 or 5. They're probably anticipating it that way anyway. I'm just coming up with a hypothetical. Yep. So somebody unexpected scratches and the point total drops significantly, or the spread changes significantly. That's an opportunity, particularly at NHA. You can try and pounce on it at a traditional sports book before they change the lines, like we talk about a lot. But at NHA in these contests, they're not changing these lines, so that just creates more of these opportunities. That'll create a few 99 percenters or 98 percenters for you. So I think that's something to look at. What changed during the day that you can play the morning line against in the evening is the way to look at it, I think, there.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you're wanting to find our odds versus lines at traditional sports books as well as NHA, take a look at Odds Shopper. It's got everything you need to make sure you are maximizing your profits. You can shop bets, create your own parlay using our parlay builder, find arbitrage opportunities, and of course, most importantly, you can shop bets to find the best prices available across sports books. So make sure you check out Odd Shopper if you are getting into sports betting, and NHA, a different form of sports betting, but you can certainly use Odd Shopper to help you here as well. All right, Terry, let's move on and talk some unders. Any that stand out to you today that you're wanting to play in these contests?
Yeah, there's a couple up at the top of the boards with the Pistons here. Pistons going against Dallas. Isaiah Stewart, his PRA at 25.5. Killian Hayes, his PRA also at 25.5. We've got both of those guys projected in the mid 17 range, and it's basically based on our expectation of minutes. If we're looking at their season long averages, Stewart's played 28 minutes a game for the season and put up a 20.6 PRA on the average, and a per 36 cents, he's putting up a, where the hell did it go? Oh, weird. I think I deleted that column by accident. Well, let's not worry about the per 36 right now, but it's in 28.3 minutes a night, he is falling 5 PRA short of the line already. We've cut his numbers down from 28.3 to 23.8 minutes tonight, and that's in support of the last couple of games. Had a DNP, then 21 minutes, 24 minutes for Stewart. So a stout front court player, but I think that line is set above what he averages in a normal sense, and we've got him playing a less than normal or less than what he's done for the season amount of minutes tonight. I have seen him projected at 28 minutes on other sites, so it makes it a little bit more fragile maybe than the 86.9% that we're projecting it at, but it depends on A, who's right about those minutes, and B, we've got it in our pocket that even if he gets that 28 minutes, he's still falling well short of it in terms of what he normally does out there. Could he get there? Absolutely. Is it a little bit more fragile than it might suggest? Yeah, probably, but I do think it's still a pretty strong play just based on the changed role, the expectation of minutes. Killian Hayes, exact same story, 26.6 minutes a night for the season, only an 18.4 PRA, had been playing a little bit more, but knocked back down the last two games, 21 and 25 minutes. We've seen the return of some healthy bodies there. We've seen Alec Burks move into the starting rotation. So it seems like he's been knocked back down. We've got him at a 25-minute projection. So it's only a minute and change shaved off of his what he had been averaging over the course of the season, but it's not the 31, 35 he was getting a few games ago. So I think this line is just set against that kind of production. At 18.4, we're 7 and change clear of this 25. I like that one quite a bit. I'd say that one's probably the stronger of the two.
The Killian Hayes line.
Yeah, and that's on the PRA. His rebounds is also right there. That's at 84.6%. That's at 4.5, and just that's one where we think in terms of what guys don't typically do well, or what a guy isn't right in his skill set. That's one where we can chase that idea on the under. Killian Hayes, 2.8 rebounds a game, 5.2% rebounding percentage, 3.8 rebounds per 36. Not going to be out there for 36 minutes. Not going to get us 4.5 rebounds. I mean, could he stumble into 5 rebounds tonight? Sure. Anything can happen, but the probability is strongly on our side. We're calling that 85%. I think I might like it even a little bit more than that. So that one, you can mix and match those two Killian Hayes props, I guess is what I'm saying, up at the top of a card pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could maybe you match this. We got Killian Hayes that assists. You mix that with the Isaiah Stewart. If you say you're not that confident in the Isaiah Stewart under, maybe there's some correlation there. Of course, the Isaiah Stewart thing really does come down to minutes. I think, as you were saying, like Jalen Duren seems to have kind of taken over the starting center role, and Isaiah Stewart kind of go into the back burner. So I don't know that it's necessarily as correlated as, if you look at two players who are in the starting lineup, maybe those are the better correlations there. But I'm trying to find some good correlations here.
Just real quick on that. I do think that you're right in terms of those would correlate, right? There's a likelihood that they'll be on the court together, Hayes and Stewart, and that if Hayes misses that assist prop, that it probably comes at the expense of Stewart scoring at least a couple of his points. So if we're chasing a PRA with Stewart, that does make a little bit of sense. But just looking at the numbers, it is a 78%er to go under. So it's not like we're talking about a low probability pick by any means. I do like that call. I do just want to point out that that's going after something that Hayes actually does pretty well. 32.2% assist rate for the season, 5.7 assists per game in his 26.6 minutes that we talked about. At a 7.5 assist line, we're playing with fire a little bit there. It's still safe. It's still 70+% to go through, but it is going after something that he does do well. And if you're thinking about a guy maybe playing for his job, maybe he's going to focus on the one thing he does well. If we want to chase a narrative with it, right? So It doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies, as Gunn likes to say, but I definitely do think the math works out on that one for us.
Okay. Now I'm just looking through some of these assist props to see if we can find any unders that correlate well, because I'm not sure that, we don't have that many that have as strong of correlation here. We've got Isaiah Stewart. The line is at 1.5 assists. We have him projected for 1.1 assists. We have the under hitting on Isaiah Stewart 69% of the time. Do we have any? I mean, I guess we were just talking about some of those Pistons guys. How about Jakob Poeltl? We've got the line as 3.5 assists. We haven't projected for 3. We have the under hitting 65% of the time. Do we have any some juicy Spurs numbers that we want to take the under on. Let me look through our. If you see any, call it out.
I just sorted over to that game. So we've got it looks like Trey Jones on the PRA is a 76.2% to go under. It's a 28.5 line. That's pretty heavy line for him. He only plays mid-20s minutes on the average, 29.8 for the season. We've got him projected at 27.4 over the last 4. That's about what he's been averaging, about 27 minutes a game. So in the 29.8 minutes, he was putting up a 23.1 PRA. That's well clear of that 28.5 line. So in the normal sense, I like it. And if we're knocking his minutes down slightly, I like it even better. So I think that PRA under for Trey Jones is pretty solid. You could play with the Keldon assists one. That's a 3.5. It's not crazy to think that he gets to 4 assists here. So I don't love that one. It is 75%, but it's not necessarily one that I would chase on the Keldon assists there. But I guess it works. If you wanted to correlate the Keldon assists with the Trey Jones PRA under, there's a little bit of correlation probably there, but it's not like a big assists total. So if he misses, it's not necessarily coming out of Trey Jones.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, it's true. It's not a huge correlation there, but if you want to play, maybe take the Trey Jones under, pair it with that Keldon and the Jakob Poeltl potentially. The Keldon one looks even better than the Jakob Poeltl, but just hope for a low scoring game. But as you say, there's going to be more correlation in the bigger numbers, the guys who are, line is at like 9.5 assists as opposed to like 2.5. It's like, well, I mean, they can still get there pretty easily with this other player not hitting their points total. So, not necessarily as strong of correlation there. Any other unders that you wanted to talk about here?
Let me see. Let's go back out to the full slate here. I'd sorted into that game. So we had talked about Josh Giddey before. I think it was a points over that I liked at 13.5 on our overs side of things. Interestingly, his 3-pointer prop is sitting at 1.5, and we've got that as 80% to go under. We've got him projected for 0.77 threes. He takes 3 a game. He makes 1 on the average, 32.6% for the season. So I think just, you could get that game where he goes out and takes 2 and makes 2. But I think just on the way the numbers work, the 80% there is worth chasing. And it's one where, people might be thinking of, hey, Josh Giddey, decent player, good scorer. We like the look of his points over. So they might just not spot that one's sitting there. Again, it's a little bit fragile just because it's such a low number. Right. But I do think that, the opportunity is there just based on the fact that he doesn't shoot that many threes per game.
Yeah. And I'm a noob to prop betting because we can't sports bet here in Minnesota. So I can only play these types of games. But it always
is great about these sites.
Right. But it always appeals to me what I see here. So we have him projected for 0.8. He can get over that 0.8. He can hit 1 3-pointer and still be on the under there. As you say, it's such a low number that it's a little bit fragile. I like it a little bit higher, more so, but it is always, a promising thing to see that a player can go over our projection, hit the high end of the projection, right? Like you round up to 1 and he's still hitting the under there. Sometimes it's like 3.5 assists and we have him at 3.4. And it's like, well, that's, it's not, I don't feel as strongly about that.
Real close. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
and that's what's great about these ones at No House. Not only can you play them where, prop betting is not necessarily legal, you can play on No House and you can have the experience of playing these and using these great projections that we've got. But I completely lost the thread of what the hell I was going to say there. Just you don't have to deal with like at the traditional sports books. A lot of the time you are sweating something that's like that close because that's one of the few things that's on the board and viable. So they give you a lot more comfort and a lot more a lot less sweaty picks to go after here. That was lost that point for a second there.
Yeah, although they are sweatier than usual here. We don't have any of those 98, 99%ers, those 100%ers that you hate. We've got some lower level picks here, so that is promising to see.
By the way, that one before I checked it before lock because of all the news that broke on that one. I think it had dropped down to about 94% by the time the game locked. So it still went well under. It went well under. Okay. I forgot what the total was that he got to, but it was well under. But I thought it dropped to like 94%.
Was it Chris Middleton? I thought that I didn't go and look, but I was thinking, man, Chris Middleton went off in that game, played way more minutes than anybody.
It wasn't that one. Greg was talking about that one or Eric, I forget who had been talking about that one. And that one went nuclear early and then he just didn't get there on minutes or whatever. But no, I forget which one it was that we had been talking about so much that we kept, it was TJ Warren.
Oh, TJ Warren, that's right.
Because we had it at 100%, and we were saying like, look, if three guys trip over the sideline and break their ankles, then he gets minutes, and it's not necessarily 100%. But we were saying it should be like 99 point whatever, and it, like I said, it had dropped to 94%. It was a virtual lock, regardless of what the actual number was on it. But I just don't like it when we say 100%.
Yeah, understood. All right, Terry. Well, we have hit our hard out. I've got another show coming up right after this one, so we have to sadly end this show now. I want to say thank you to the Juice Box for sending us a super chat. We don't get many super chats on these shows, so do appreciate that. Thank you for watching. So anyway, those are some of our favorite picks. You can find even more picks from Stokastic. Go to stokastic.com. Find the NBA drop down, go to free NBA DFS data, choose a no house advantage option. You'll find our no house advantage projections and optimal lineups for these pick'em contests. If you want to just, take advantage of those right before, like after DFS lock, get into this contest late, take advantage of some overlay. You can find actual lineups built for you there that you can upload into NHA. Reminder, if you haven't, please do like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, we've got NBA Deeper Dive live before lock coming up later today, but I've got a So Rare show coming up in just a couple minutes, so stick around for that one as well. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.